Hi, this is Alice Groves for Module 5, my discussion response. Michael Weimer and his quotes from Jean-Paul Beauvais point out that all humans have a right to live full lives with dignity, respect, and equity. This, of course, includes all individuals, those with disabilities, those who differ from the norm, including all ethnic and racial groups. Everyone should have the freedom to make one's own choices and be independent, being able to participate in all aspects of the community. It also calls for the normalization of all people with disabilities, allowing for self-actualization. It is important as an educator to know that all of your students are humans with individual needs and that it is your job to make sure that they are able to access a free and appropriate education. Throughout my time, I have taught students who have had an IEP, a 504, or other accommodations. I find that the accommodations list is a helpful tool, not only for the student in question, but for also many of the general education students in the classroom, as well as it is helpful for the instructor to know specific ways in which they and other staff members can best ensure the ultimate success of that student. Historically, people with disabilities, according to Weimer, were considered abnormal, broken, and outside the norm. This puts a disabled person in the diseased or sick category of the medical model. But because disabled people were different, they were considered inferior and should be separated from the normal people, placed in institutions and in separate classes for learning, and they were shunned and encouraged not to be a part of the community, and many were taken care of by different government programs and certainly not encouraged to work. Allowing disabled people to make their own decisions, choose their own lifestyle, and work was considered inappropriate. Historically, society felt that the disabled community could not make a positive impact and therefore provided little input beyond basic life maintenance. The stigma of disability has been very hard to erase. The new approach of looking at the strengths of those with a disability and not thinking of them as sick or useless has taken considerable time and strength, unfortunately. We must realize that separate is not equal, that disabled individuals all have rich potential, only constrained by our lack of imagination, and that disabled people with proper assistance can live wonderfully independent and self-actualizing lives. That disabled people can work and be self-sufficient is fundamental to the dignity of a person. As a leader, I would make certain that when we honor people because of their intellect, leadership, scientific discoveries, and social cultural improvement in our society, we include and identify those that have a disability, emphasizing that having a disability doesn't exclude one from being successful. However, I would also acknowledge the work and determination of those in our school that are successfully learning and being a part of our community in our school, both with and without a disability. Disabled students should not be pulled out as a separate group, but rather be one part of the whole and treated with equity. The social model of disability reflects this attitude of inclusiveness. It recognizes the importance of each individual and their civil rights, their dignity, their need for respect. This model looks at an individual's strengths and adapting the environment to make a self-realization possible for everyone, not trying to fix the disability. The model shuns the cultural devaluation and social restrictions of the historical approach to those with a disability. It demands the opportunity for the disabled to have full participation in society. My three major takeaways from the Weimer presentation are: 1. Everyone, including all people with disabilities, should be treated with respect, dignity, and equality to allow them to lead rich, full lives where they have freedom of choice and independence. 2. We, all of society, needs to change our reference of the disabled as sick, broken, dependent, and inferior to people with positive strengths, abilities to achieve, and with proper environmental adaptation skills to fully participate in society. 3. We, as individuals, have the responsibility to help make this transformation possible. This impacts me as a leader in many ways, especially in making an inclusive space for all students, whether that means providing resources or education and professional development in these areas. Teachers in my charge must understand the letter of the law to a full extent and be able to fulfill the IEP and 504 requirements listed for all students, as well as provide sufficient documentation and purpose for future evaluations. This also means that the school which I work for should have a systemic compliance that ensures that the same treatment for all students with or without IEPs. The school at which I work currently does its best, but it is not always strictly compliant in that the teachers are expected to follow the guidelines of the student's IEP, but if they fail to do so, there is little consequence. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this discussion.